Alright, I'm very excited to find out exactly what ended up going down in this series. What I've got for you today is a best of 3 of Terran vs Zerg, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on the map Babylon. Now I believe that the man right here in the top left hand corner really doesn't require any additional introduction. Playing right here with the blue SCVs, we have none other than HeroMarine. Now, HeroMarine has been playing this game professionally for probably about 10, 11, maybe 12 years at this point. As long as I've been watching the game, HeroMarine has been playing at the highest level, and he is currently looking very, very strong. His opponent, though, in the opposite corner, we have someone who I really haven't seen any games of as of late. I think I've featured him maybe once or twice before on the channel, but there are simply not a whole lot of his replays available. Playing right here with the orange Zerg drones from the United Kingdom, we have none other than Iba. Now, in case the name Iba doesn't ring a bell, there's a very good reason as to why that is. I'll get to it in just a moment, okay? First off, let me give you 2 bits of information from his Wikipedia page that I think are pretty cool. So Iba is the youngest ever player to reach a Grandmaster League in StarCraft 2 at the age of 11 years and 345 days. Furthermore, he reached 6,000 MMR on the European server at the age of 13 years and 23 days, which I think is the equivalent of about top 50 or so on the European region. Again, becoming the youngest ever player to do so far in the game. Now here's the real kicker. That was only last year. The reason why I can't really cast a whole lot of Iba's games is because the man cannot participate in offline tournaments. The big StarCraft 2 events, they basically all have a minimum age to sign up of at least 16. I guess for good reason, right? I guess that Blizzard doesn't really want to be caught up in any drama there. But Iba cannot play in any of the biggest events simply because of his age. Now that does mean though, that it's still going to be a couple years until I guess we can really see him play, and there's a good chance as well that, I mean, there's going to be different RTS games coming up as well, right? It's difficult to say exactly where StarCraft 2 is going to be in like 2-3 years from now, but I do still believe that even if, you know, Iba is going to end up switching to another game or whatever, right? Say Stormgate becomes really popular, there's a very good shot this man is set up perfectly to be one of the best players in that game because, well, let's just be honest, most of the older StarCraft players, and this actually is a really rough beginning, I think a lot of the older StarCraft pros, they're gonna have a difficult time adjusting to another game, something that they, you know, haven't actually played before. I noticed this especially in the, I know that some of the Warcraft 3 players, they're a little bit older than the StarCraft 2 pros. Some of the Warcraft 3 players tried to switch over to like Age of Empires and stuff, and they kind of struggled, whereas the younger players usually are a little bit more flexible. Anyways, I'm gonna be casting StarCraft 2 for as long as I can, because I absolutely love this game, but I am excited to find out exactly where Iba is currently at when it comes to playing SC2. Now, this is not a great start, though. The SCV sticking around with the double Rex opener is a little bit cheeky. That's not what we normally see. This drone ended up canceling that extractor. In the end, the drone did get killed, but Iba did sneak out a 3rd base right over here in his, well, 2nd option, I suppose. Not really originally wanted to put this base, but at the very least, he does put it down. Again, though, HeroMarine being very aggressive. This is almost like a bit of a skill check. I don't believe that this is the optimal way to play this, but the queens, I think one of the queens, maybe even 2 of the queens, need to come down here towards the low ground, because otherwise this hatch is going to end up getting cancelled again as well, and I do believe he's planning on cancelling it. Yep, I don't think this is the optimal way to start off right here as Zerg, but then again, he didn't really make a whole lot of links. 6 links here in total. The queens at the very least got to lay down their injects and their creep tumors, and the 3rd hatch will be coming up eventually, but I do think we can call this a very successful start right here for HeroMarine. Getting their console on a hatchery, killing 2 drones, not a bad start right here at all for the biggest of games. The fact, though, I guess that Iba is playing against players like, for example, HeroMarine is probably a good sign, right? That his skill level is certainly nothing to scoff at. I'm not exactly sure how serious HeroMarine is going to be taking a game like this, right? So I believe this is from one of the Open Cups. Probably in one of the earlier rounds, if I were to make a guess. And generally speaking, in the earlier rounds, the pro gamers, I mean, I don't know if HeroMarine is not really the type of guy, I don't think, who's hanging out with his buddies on Discord in a voice call or whatever while he's playing these games, but there's no denying that usually the pro gamers, they play a lot more aggressively in the earlier stages of tournaments just because they can't really be bothered, right? Like, You can play a half-hour-long macro game, but that's just gonna exhaust you for the rest of the tournament. So you may as well play something that is a little bit easier on the APM, a little bit easier on the mind. I'm not exactly sure how we can describe it in StarCraft 2, but they will probably take it relatively easy in the earlier stages of an online cup. Anyways, it's gonna be that factory right here on the back of this as well. We have a triple rec start. This is just simply a ton of Marines with those Reapers from the earlier stages of the game. And this is once again a bit of a skill check right here coming up for HeroMarine. Is the Zerg player on point to deal with this many Marines? Combat Shields and Stimpack are done right now. Brilliant timing here, of course, by HeroMarine, who wants to try and see if he can snipe another hatch. There are a couple Banelings, however, available. Almost a disaster, and honestly, this is still really bad right here for HeroMarine, yeah. I mean, he almost ran into those Banelings there head on, but that is Iba showing him that he knows exactly what needs to be done against this particular attack. I think HeroMarine as well. I watched quite a bit of HeroMarine's stream. I wouldn't be surprised if he looked at that early game Reaper defense. He's like, okay, this is gonna be an easy one. He didn't even send the Queens down to the third base. I believe that's the correct approach, by the way. At the very least, that's what I've seen a bunch of the Korean Zergs do, where they have the triple Reapers attacking the hatch, and then the Queens go down. Obviously, this was the late third. It was a delayed third hatchery as well, so it didn't quite have as many hit points. Maybe the math lines up a little bit differently. But anyways, in the end, this is a good beginning right here from the player from the UK. Is that what we say? From England? The English player? I guess so. English player kind of sounds like a again, an Age of Empires term. I did play quite a bit of Age of Empires 4 when it first came out. Never could really get into it, but they definitely do have the English in that one too. They have the sick bowmen, don't they? I think they can rush out those archers nice and quick. Anyways, Baneling speed coming up right here for Iba. +1 infantry weapons here as well has been started up for HeroMarine, and he's going to be able to finish up that third command center eventually. Now, this is of course where the game gets a little bit tricky. The third command center with this particular opener from HeroMarine is very, very late. And that makes things very complex, right? Like, how in the world are you going to play a macro game right now? You're economically not in the strongest position. I actually do believe that Iba could have droned up a little bit more aggressively here, but he decides to play it quite conservatively. Queens over here hunting down whatever they can. We have the fourth hatchery here in the top right-hand corner. If this was, for example, a Serral playing, I think he would have already had this fourth base fully saturated at this point. Serral really super greedy when it comes to the droning, and usually he's very confident in still being in a good position. But then again, at this point you're playing against two-base Terran. He doesn't quite realize if there is a third CC. Right now he does see that the third command center is landing, and that is usually going to give him the go-ahead to also go ahead and drone up that fourth hatch. That being said though, I think that this army over here needs to be addressed first. Obviously a phenomenal economical position here for Iba for now. Let's see how much work he can do over here. Couple of Zerglings coming around the side. That siege tank should definitely get shut down, and it certainly will. Lovely work here once again. Now this is the moment where I think we can start droning up that fourth. We may even start thinking about teching up towards a hive, a Hydra den, whatever you want. Yeah. Alright, so there we go. 10 drones immediately get started up. There's a Zergling here as well on the left side of the map to scout out whether or not there's another command center coming up. But I don't think with a build like this that HeroMarine is going to be getting that going here anytime soon. As a matter of fact, second engine bay coming up right now together with an armory. He just added on another barracks too. This is not really a Terran player who's set up to play the big macro game here. Whereas Zerg is already looking very comfortable with their economy. He's going to go up to about 80 workers here. I think 80 to 85 drones is exactly where you want to be. Sometimes you can go even a little bit higher than that. HeroMarine dropping off the Marines in that little Reaper jump up location. Super annoying. Army over here in the top left-hand corner apparently also got shut down. Some of the Marines apparently were venturing out a little bit too far onto the creep. Okay, nicely done right there by HeroMarine. That was the cheekiest little Marine right there, jumping out of that medevac. Those are the moves though, right? That separate really good players from the really great players. It's the little things that add up over the course of a game. Now you can see APM-wise, both players are going toe-to-toe there. Fourth command center starts up. I was just gonna bring it up. Are we gonna see a fourth command center in this game, or is HeroMarine just gonna stick around on that massive barracks production? It was either gonna be the fourth command center or barracks 6, 7, and 8, and apparently in this particular instance, it's gonna be the fourth command center. But that does mean that Iba is gonna have that significant economical advantage for the foreseeable future. Yeah. So he's not really going into, any sort of hive tech here just yet. I mean, he may go up to a hive in just a moment. That is a very aggressive drop right here from HeroMarine, man. 4 siege tanks in total. I don't know if I like that all too much, to be honest. I mean, it is a desperation push, but the spawning pool goes down. The Hydra then goes down as well. HeroMarine is now shutting down the production of his opponent, who's going to have to remake all of this tech. In the end, though, that was pricey. That was very, very pricey. We are going to have to see a new Hydra then as well, if I'm not mistaken, because we currently only have a Baneling nest. Spawning pool takes a surprisingly long time to build at this stage in the game. There's the Hydra then restarting as well. And HeroMarine still looking very solid. Now grabbing the supply lead here as well. You can see that Iba wants to spend his money, but yeah, he doesn't have a way to do so. He is waiting for the spawning pool to finish up, and even then, I mean, he's gonna need the larva as well. Queen over here harassing to the best of her abilities as well. HeroMarine in the process of pulling a rabbit out of a hat. And it turns out he may just be the Terran Magician. These are all very APM intensive defenses, right? So theoretically Zerg can deal with those units just fine, but realistically it's very tricky. Now the spawning pool is done together with the Hydra den. And at the very least, that means he can continue getting his upgrades going as well, because we really are going to need some of those Hydralisk upgrades. The fact that these Hydras are still slow, and we have 14 more coming up. Yeah, that means that these bases, the Zerg units, are just not fast enough to stay on top of all of this defense. HeroMarine is going to start once again moving forward here. Full-on counterattack here by Iba. He's noticed the timing of the fourth command center, and he realized, okay, this is going to be the moment when it's flying across. At least there's a couple of medevacs nearby to save some of those units. Zerglings now also running on over towards this base, but some big SCV detonations. 26 SCVs have gone down. HeroMarine in the meantime continuing onwards with his aggression over here. Hydra then immediately does start up the upgrade once again, but this is of course super late. A couple Banelings here apparently got cancelled. We have to clean up this unit comp right here from the Terran player, and I think that's exactly why this Zerg ball is coming back home. The Hydra's of course a little bit behind. There's no Banelings here in the mix either, but there's enough units available to just break through those siege tank lines and push the Marines back into the medevacs. This is not a game that's going particularly well right here for HeroMarine. He does stim up north as well, and he does get rid of at least some of that creep. Fourth command center once again getting reacquired. I think we're gonna have to morph in a planetary fortress here. But when it rains, it pours. At this point, we're talking about a 40 supply advantage right here for Iba. He only has 58 drones remaining, though, at this point in the game, which is really nothing to write home about. He's smelling blood in the water, however. He wants to see if he can win this game right here, right now. Really big Zergling wave here as well, running straight towards the natural expansion. Siege tanks are getting picked off, but there's very few Banelings in the mix, and those Marines with this many medevacs up in the skies are still gonna have a relatively good time. Yeah, those Hydras still do not have their ranged upgrade. At least a couple of the medevacs are misrallied, so Iba's gonna be able to snipe those, but I think honestly we might just be thinking about re-droning at least some of this. 59 workers against... Oh, the Queen's also mispositioned. 59 workers against triple CC Terran is not bad, but it's also not very reliable. Okay. Another hatchery starts up here at the 6 o'clock position. HeroMarine at this point reduced to only 42 SCVs, and he did end up losing one of his orbital commands here, but at the very least he still has 2 available, so he can continue building some of those SCVs 3 at a time, but he can also drop the mules 2 at a time as well, and I think that's going to be very, very handy here in these low eco games. If you have a look right now at the income advantage, here you can see those yellow mining machines here at the top of your screen. I think it's going to be relatively even actually, maybe even a slight advantage as long as those mules are alive. Hive coming up right now, together with the Lurker den. Really like that change. Really like that switch up here from the Zerg. Okay, once again, the guns are pointed right here at the base at the 6 o'clock position. But I like the Lurker transition here a lot. Mostly because of the fact that this is not a Terran who can switch into ghosts. Right? Like, this is not a Terran who's got enough economy to make that transition. So, it's gonna just be Marines, Siege Tanks, and Medevacs here for... I guess the foreseeable future, as long as Terran is stuck on just triple CC economy, you need really at least 4 base, I would say, in order to properly produce ghosts. There's really not going to be much of a counter against the lurker. Iba though was hoping he could have won this game by now, and that clearly is not the case. Once again, there's a massive amount of Terran moving down south. I wouldn't mind maybe seeing this base taken here rather than the 6 o'clock one, because this is all very, very dangerous. Not a lot of creep over here. Marines, though, running to their deaths. At least a lot of them did. Luckily, though, the Marines... Okay, at least they got to drop right there into the Medevacs as well, which is nice. Banelings trying their best. At least a few siege tanks end up going down. Iba though just trying desperately to make as many units here as possible. HeroMarine's still getting some very nice trades here. Hive at this point is done. Siege tanks are getting cleaned up. All that the Zerg player really needs at this point is a little bit of time. Not rolling the Banelings into the siege tank, that's very good. I think what we really need right now is just a bit of time. Now those Liberators, man, they've been super annoying for a long while. We're up to 30 kills here, which really isn't that many, but I guess we never really had that many workers in total in the first place. Those Liberators just being a complete nuisance, and right away, HeroMarine once again swatting down another one of those bases down south. Never really letting his foot off the gas here. Yeah, and the way you can sort of force Terrans to move their foot off the gas is by getting lurkers out. I think if we can get seismic spines going right now, we morph in about 10 lurkers. There's very little that the Terran player can actually do. You morph in a couple lurkers and position them over there, maybe a couple more up here as well. It's going to be super difficult for the Terran to continue going. Instead, though, Iba decides to once again maybe get a little bit over eager. Yeah, I really don't think we have to get this aggressive. Oh god, we're just gonna move into the siege tanks. I feel like that's a little bit dangerous unless he feels like he can just win right here, right now. But I'm looking at this Hydra count, rather, and it's really nothing to write home about. Once again, a good trade right there for HeroMarine, really making the best of a really tricky scenario. Obviously, one of the reasons why these fights are taken is because of the fact that there's constant harassment. Liberators are just maneuvering around the map all of the time. Immediately, though, HeroMarine is coming in. Gonna be able to snipe another hatchery. These units are being very obnoxious. We have a lot of creep over here in the middle of the map, so at least the Zerglings are going to be able to cross that distance a little bit easier. Adrenal glands would be another upgrade that I think would be really good, but Iba just simply doesn't really have the time right here to get all of that going here. The economy is not that great. We have a ton of gas in the bank, but other than lurkers, not a whole lot of ways to spend it. That being said, though, Seismic Spines is finishing up. That's the first of the 2 lurker upgrades. This is the range one, which is super nice. Okay. There's the second, Adaptive Talents, and now the lurkers are coming up. In the meantime, though, the main command center has flown on over towards the low ground here as well, and HeroMarine is going to be able to enjoy some additional mineral fields here. Zerglings, though, have been on a tech move here. Yep. And they're going to be very nice. Yep, that's going to deal a lot of damage. That's going to be a lot of SCVs gone in a heartbeat. Now the lurkers are getting under the ground as well. And there's not really that many scans available here for the Terran player either. And you can see immediately, as soon as those lurkers show up, these pushes just become so much harder to execute. When you don't have scans, when you don't have your ghost available, how in the world do you deal with the lurkers? Turns out there's not really a whole lot of ways to go ahead and do so. Still, though, HeroMarine's supply count is basically even. Look at that. 56 army supply for the Terran, 54 for the Zerg. But right now, the Zerg player is growing when it comes to the quality of this army composition. We're up to 10 lurkers here. Actually, no more Hydras are around either. This would be an opportunity to burrow the lurkers right over here, but it's a little bit risky. Yeah, maybe going after the more exposed bases that don't have turrets built on top of them is going to be a bit easier. The creep spread here is excellent as well. Trying to move forward right now, trying to get on top of this as well. Marines are splitting to the best of their abilities. HeroMarine trying to pull a Bjorn here. Actually forcing the Zerg player to back off. Vipers are coming up as well. Excellent choice when you have a lot of gas. They really go well together, of course, with those lurkers when you can abduct units and parasitic bombs and all the rest of it. Blinding clouds on the siege tanks as well. Super, super useful. Yeah, we can abduct them if we want, but I mean, we don't even have energy. You're already splitting. Yeah, there wasn't enough energy for a parasitic bomb. Okay, this game is an absolute bloodbath so far. And it's not over yet. My main concern, though, is what HeroMarine is going to be able to do against lurkers. He just doesn't really have the units to deal with it. I mean, siege tanks are decent. Liberators, again, decent. But Marines, I don't think they're really going to be able to do much. We could even double down on the lurker production right now, too. Yeah, just Hydra Lurker Viper is going to be an excellent unit comp. Okay. Now we're getting to the point, though, where even the base over here on the left, the fourth base of the Terran, is going to start running out of minerals. A very small amount is still remaining. I guess the fact that this base was forced to leave this location earlier means that there's still some money in the third, but also, again, nothing really to write home about. I think what HeroMarine's best choice is at this point is to just keep doing what he's doing at this moment, right? So just more Marines, more Siege Tanks, more Medevacs, more Liberators, and maybe hope that the Zerg player overextends. What you really need, though, against this Viper Lurker army is, of course, the Ghost. If you can squeeze out a Ghost Academy and you can make just a few of them, you really don't even need that many. Just EMPs and a few snipes would be massive already. That would be awesome. But at this point, if he sticks around on this unit composition, he almost needs to get lucky. 20 lurkers at this point are available. A lot of siege tanks too, though. Cutting off the Marines here from this path towards the right side of the map. We can definitely see some abductions here. That would be nice anyways. Siege tanks do see these units, and he decides to go in. I think he may have actually been on hold fire there for just a moment. At the very least, it seemed like the lurkers on the right weren't really doing that much. HeroMarine still has a big enough army to get in. Okay. Careful, though. This is one wave of those lurker spines away from being an absolute disaster. This would, of course, be an amazing moment for a little lurker or Zergling counterattack, and it seems like Iba is thinking the same thing. Okay, there's some abductions. That's what we want to see. 3 siege tanks end up going down. 4th siege tank not going to be too far behind either. Okay, is this the moment? He's going to try and stim in. This is a desperation move right there. GG is called. And Iba obtains the victory over HeroMarine in game number 1. Game number 2, we find ourselves on Dragon Scales. Suddenly, Iba has a little bit of wiggle room. I don't know if he goes into a series like this and thinks, okay, yeah, I'm going to be able to fight HeroMarine, who's probably like 800 MMR above me. I'm going to be able to fight him straight up, no problemo. I don't think so. But when you're a 1-0 advantage, obviously you can start thinking about some aggressive roach pushes, maybe some all-ins, right? There's definitely some options available right now, and that's personally what I would be going for here. If I was 1-0 up against HeroMarine, and I do feel like he would be the better player, right? I feel like HeroMarine is a little bit better at the game than me. Only about 2,000 MMR. Yeah, I would certainly go ahead and play a very cheesy game right now. This would be the time for a Roach Rush, a Baneling Bust, a Proxy Hatchery, whatever you feel like. Maybe even like 2-base Muta, right? Like something silly. Something that he may not necessarily have a lot of practice against lately. Something that you can catch him off guard with. Keep in mind, one of the reasons why that previous game ended up going the way that it went is because HeroMarine decided to go and just poke up the ramp. He decided to face tank Banelings with Marines by poking up the Zerg's natural. And obviously, that was at like what, the 5-minute mark in that game? That was like 15 minutes before the game ended. But that's really where Iba managed to get his advantage, and he never really let go. It got very close a couple of times, but HeroMarine, yeah, maybe being a little bit overly eager in this series. He's gonna have to play this a little bit more seriously right now. Okay. It's gonna be Triple Reaper here once again. The Reaper's just being as annoying as possible, of course. No third hatchery attempted this time around, by the way. We have the drones left in gas for a little bit longer, too. Okay, now the third hatch is gonna be coming down. At least he's gonna try. Okay, not gonna happen. Yeah, this is why the Triple Reaper start can be incredibly annoying, even when you do go for the fast link speed. Fast link speed still means that it's gonna be a while until it's actually done. Iba adding the drones back into the gas. Okay, yeah, this man is up to no good. There's no way you would be adding on the drones again into the gas geyser if you're not planning on going for some sort of aggression. Unless he really assumes he's not gonna be able to secure a third base anytime soon. Okay, I think there it is. We've got ourselves a Baneling nest. It is absolutely critical that HeroMarine gets pushed away from this natural expansion. He does not get to scout the Banelingness here. Even then, honestly, I'm not sure if a Baneling bust is a great idea against this threat. You are on a timer. As soon as Stimpak finishes, it's going to be an easy hold for Terran. Because Baneling's off creep, slow Baneling is off creep. It's going to be relatively straightforward. But at this point, HeroMarine is completely in the dark. Link speed is finishing up. We did miss the Queen injects, by the way, in the main base. Because the Queens were very busy trying to protect the low ground there. And make sure that the Baneling nest doesn't get scouted. Okay, there's the Banelings coming up. 5 Banelings is what you need to blow up a supply depot. But we have a lot of money in the bank. Yeah. So we did have additional Queens on the production tab too earlier. Now it just sort of becomes a complete all-in. We really need to be able to spend the money. I don't think this is a very effective all-in. Now the larvae are popping off. Now it's going to be much easier to spend the money. But I don't think we can really wait until the 18 additional units show up. Because then Stimpak is going to be done. Nice grenade over there as well. Supply depot, however, is down. Okay. More Banelings are showing up. But nice control here so far by HeroMarine. Pulling the right amount of SCVs. Nice target firing as well with those Marines. Now Stimpak has completed. Yeah, and this is a great example as to why we don't see Baneling bust in 2023. Did you see that control just now from HeroMarine? That was absolutely ludicrous. 4 SCVs going down in total. The man ended up losing what? 4 Marines, 4 SCVs, and 2 Reapers. Not bad at all. Now, he did hit a bit of a supply block, I suppose, because that depot got busted. But this is a triple CC start right here for HeroMarine as well, so it's not even like that many units. If you compare it to what he had in the previous game, this is a Terran player who can lose all of these SCVs and still be economically ahead, okay? Maybe not all of them, but he could lose this entire mineral line for sure and he'd still be okay. Okay, eventually I guess the barracks itself is gonna end up going down. Combat shields get cancelled, but Stimpak at this point is still finished, of course. Those Marines are gonna be able to use their combat drugs nice and easily. So more SCVs are in trouble when Baneling waddling on over towards, well, however many units it can hit. But this is really, really bad, yeah. I don't even think Iba realizes at this point, okay, that it's a triple CC build. Maybe he realized it by the amount of units that he saw, but nice attempt right there by Iba, but brilliant game right there from HeroMarine. And that brings us to Gresvan, final game in this best of 3 series. This time around, it's not a triple Reaper opener. Instead, it's a barracks expand right here, so just a single Reaper into a Marine. We have a reactor, we've got ourselves a factory. This is all very, very normal. Triple hatchery start here as well for the Zerg. So that hatch is going to be nice and early. Link speed can be fired up right about right now. And this means that we're transitioning towards a normal macro game. Now getting the creep tumor would be amazing. That grenade is not going to help out the Terran player very much. Nah, the creep tumor is going to stay alive. Okay. So what exactly is HeroMarine going to do here? If I was HeroMarine, I think I'd be going triple CC with Banshees. Yeah, I think triple CC Banshee is the safest all-round opener. It gives you a tremendous economy, so even if you end up losing some SCVs on the low ground, you're still going to be just fine. And obviously the Banshee is going to be really good as well if the Zerg decides to get aggressive with roaches or something along those lines. Now one thing I haven't really seen that much from Iba in the past is some late game play. So I'm talking about roaches. Most of the time when we see roaches, it's either going to be for aggression or it's dark. Or like Cyril, or like Raynor, trying to force the game to go the distance. I wouldn't really mind seeing Iba playing something like that as well. Especially on a map like Gresvan, it's really difficult to close the game out early for the Zerg. I wouldn't mind seeing him play a bit of a slower game and maybe a little bit more late game focused. But I understand that late game Zerg is very tricky. Like even in the first game of the series, I mean, yeah, we did get Lurkers and Vipers eventually. But I think he stuck around on mid-game tech for a little while too long. Like maybe a little bit over-eager to try and end the game. That's my only criticism here as a caster and observer of this match. I see a lot of Zergs versus Terran, and most of them don't get stuck in the mid-game like that. That's actually a very similar criticism that I used to have of Raynor's gameplay. I don't know how long you guys have been watching this game, or how long you've been watching me cast, but Raynor very much so was also considered to be a mid-game player. So he would play early game very cleanly, and then the mid game is where he would sort of get stuck. He would rarely transition towards the late game. That is probably about a year yeah, probably about 5 years or so ago at this point. And obviously, as soon as he did start playing late game, is when the dots really clicked in his head, and he became an absolute god at Zerg, becoming the world champion and all that, right? Winning Gamers 8, for example. He's very good at the game right now. Obviously, though, it is very easily set, but very difficult to actually execute. Like, I personally, in my own games, also am very much so a mid-game focused Zerg, for the simple reason that I cannot play late-game Zerg particularly well. I always butcher my hotkeys and the multiple spellcasters, and just the slow pace of the game is not really... Like, I like playing that swarmy style, right? But anyways, that's not really... That slower, methodical Zerg army is not really something that I've seen Iba play that much in the past. If ever, actually. I can't recall any games, but there may be some where he did end up going for that. Anyways, 4th hatchery coming up. 3 bases, basically already saturated. We've got the Baneling speed here that can be researched as well very soon. And you can see that HeroMarine is taking this game pretty slow, right? Just killing whatever he can, leading into his own economy as well. And now we've got the Banshee showing up. How many workers can they kill? Will they get a queen? Probably not. You can see, though, that HeroMarine is taking this game all of a sudden a whole lot more serious, right? So, I was gonna say a whole lot more seriouser, but I don't think that's correct English last time I checked. Although it should be. It should be. You can see that HeroMarine is taking this game seriouser. That's actually what we would say in Dutch, now that I think of it. The Dutch word for serious is serieus, and you would say serieuzer. Like, you would say the, you know, the equivalent of seriouser, but anyways. You can tell, though, that HeroMarine is not really messing around anymore here, right? Playing a very conventional, very stock standard approach, even getting one of his SCVs stuck over there behind the mineral line. This is something what we see all the time from Terran players. Okay. Remember the name, is what Iba is thinking right now. I don't know how many times they faced against each other, but remember the name. Don't treat me kindly next time around we face against each other. Anyways, Hydra then coming up right here. It's gonna be that Lingbane Hydra style once more here from the Zerg. This is a scary attack, though. There's a siege tank in the mix as well. Not showing itself just yet. There's, of course, a couple of good positions here for tanks, which is exactly why Iba decides to jump this. Love that, actually. Okay. HeroMarine was ready to set up shop right over there with the siege tank and just sort of sit behind the mineral line and all the rest of it. But now suddenly he's stuck in the main base of the Zerg. This was not where he was originally going, and I don't think it's gonna go particularly well for him either. No, this is gonna get shut down easy peasy. This would be the moment, though, to go for the drones. If we want to go up to like 85 workers, this would be the moment right here, right now. There's a lot more Terran coming across the map, but for this next push, we should have we should have +1/+1 together with, well, combat shields would be neat as well, but we should also have the Baneling speed ready to go. Medevacs here! Ooh, just barely getting out. This is scary, though. Okay, HeroMarine has got an awful lot of units, and he's now actually catching those queens off guard. The queen's getting a little bit over-eager. Now suddenly you're forced to engage this area because the queens will end up going down, but attempting to save the queens, it ended up costing a lot of Zerglings right now. A full counterattack would always be an option here as well, but a little bit difficult to pull off, especially with those Banshees still up in the air. We're gonna try and go for a wraparound. Where are the Banelings? There's only a single Baneling available. Still though, the Baneling here is trying his best. He's rolling forward. This is a tremendous position right here for HeroMarine. This is what he was aiming for earlier. Luckily though for the Zerg player, at least he did have enough there, but you can see that this is starting to slip out of the Zerg player's hands a little bit. 4th command center at this point is finishing up. We'll probably see that one moving on over there with a planetary fortress. There's no lurkers here on the horizon or anything like that. Zerg has a decent economy, but really nothing to write home about. He's trying to squeeze out a couple drones at this point. I would really love to see 2-2 start up. I'd love to see I would love to see this Zerg player go up towards Hive Tech as well. But this is now a little bit of a difficult game to play. Creep spread is really nice though. Lovely creep spread. Lovely early game as well. Okay. Oh, we're gonna go for the planetary here on the right side of the map. This is the latest and greatest the Terran players have been going for lately on this map. I don't know why. I feel like the center command center over here with the planetary is so much better, especially when Zerk is not going to be able to go for lurkers anytime soon, but this is what the Terrans have been going for on this map over the last month or so. One thing that we did see from Raynor, actually, when he was very mid-game centric, was a lot more counter-attacking. That is also something that Iba could certainly consider mixing into his gameplay a little bit more. This fight off creep is not very useful. I actually really don't like this fight. Yeah. No, that fight was a little bit of impatience right there, right? Like, these fights are 28 kills right now on this siege tank. Those fights are unnecessary. There's really no reason to try and engage the Terran player off creep, because really the only time that works is if the Terran doesn't pay attention. And maybe that works against the average Terran guy, but against one of the top tier Terrans from Europe, I don't think that's really gonna happen. HeroMarine at this point maxed out. He wants to go for an attack with +2/+2. It's gonna finish up here momentarily. Zerk, though, wants to force this engagement before those upgrades finish up. He realizes that is gonna finish very soon, so he must have clicked on one of the Marines, and he does overwhelm this. But this is not a fight that Zerk really wants to be taking, although, in the end, good trade there. No detection available. Okay, those Banshees are gonna get a couple kills as well as the Zerk player retreats back onto the creep. Okay, now 2-2 is finishing. Yep. HeroMarine, once again maxed out. He's got an awful lot of production right now. 87 SCVs as well. Immediately fires up the +3. Let's see. Is Zerk going to be able to clean up this particular attack as well? Because now suddenly the upgrades have kicked in. And that makes this Terran army a lot more scary. The Zerk upgrades are about a half minute behind. And that means that these Lings and Banes just simply do not deal as much damage. Okay, Iba decides to pull the trigger right now. Does he have enough to engage this Terran army and clean it all up? What he wants to do is swarm all over it, just like he did in the previous engagement. And you can really see the power right there of those Marines with the 2-2 upgrades. A very well-played series right here from HeroMarine. Honestly though, looking at these games, I think Iba is only a really small margin away from being able to actually take series off of HeroMarine. If he crosses his T's and he dots his I's and he tightens up the gameplay just ever so slightly, I think there's a lot of potential.